Call the meeting to order. This is the regular board meeting of the Harlingen Consolidated Independent School District. This meeting has been posted in accordance with the Open Meetings Act. We do have a quorum. Would you please join me in a moment of silence? Thank you. We'll now have the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Strubart.
Mr. President, board members, Dr. Cavazos, administration, and audience. This evening we have Alyssa Rendon from Dr. Abraham P. Cano Freshman Academy leading us in the pledge. Alyssa is a 9th grade Air Force JROTC student who is the unit commander at Dr. Cano Freshman Academy. She is in the School of Health Sciences, and her favorite subject is English. She is an honor roll student and a member of the National Junior Honor Society. Alyssa looks forward to a great 3 years at Harlingen High School South, continuing in the Air Force JROTC, as well as her studies in the School of Health Sciences. After graduation, Alyssa hopes to go into the military to be an Air Force pararescue member. Alyssa is the daughter of Arturo and Hilda Rendon. Ladies and gentlemen, Alyssa Rendon.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated.
Thank you. It now is the board's honor to bring forth matters relating to transformation and school support, the approval of strategic plan and adoption of the strategic plan goals for HCISD. Ms. Veronica Carton.
Mr. President, board members, Dr. Cavazos, senior staff, and audience, it is my pleasure to be here this evening to present our strategic plan for adoption. This evening is a monumental event for Harlingen CISD because it is the culmination of a journey that began in September when we partnered up with Engaged Learning on the development of our strategic plan. Assisting and guiding us through the process was our consultant, Teresa Tate, who is joining us in the audience this evening. She was the external coordinator, and I had the pleasure of being the internal coordinator for strategic planning. As we embarked on strategic planning, we wanted to ensure the foundational pieces of the planning would include the voice of our community. Thus, our strategic planning commenced with a team of 8 training, where you, our Board of Trustees, and our then interim superintendent, Dr. Arturo Cavazos, had some time with our internal coordinator and both our external coordinator. After our team of 8 training, we then looked to the community to begin our feedback in 2 layers. The first layer incorporated a community-wide survey and our community summit. The second layer of feedback included numerous focus groups where we had stakeholders come in to have a discussion with Mrs. Tate. These group discussions were designed to gather information about the community's highest hopes for our learners in the district. This layer of feedback included input from groups such as our parents, our teachers, central office administrators, certainly our community, and yes, most importantly, even our students. I am proud to report this evening that we engaged over 800 individuals from the city of Harlingen in our feedback, which exceeded our expectations, and I just think that says a lot about our community and about our district. So the next big piece of our plan included the selection of key stakeholders in our community that would represent a microcosm of Harlingen. Together with our Board of Trustees, we appointed approximately 35 members to our Strategic Planning Committee, and they are also here with us this evening as well. This group reviewed all of the feedback and dedicated an extraordinary amount of time to make sure that we had a very comprehensive review of our feedback. And now, without further ado, I present our strategic plan as proposed for adoption. So we start with our title. The title of our plan is Transforming Learning for Global Achievement, Inspiring Learners for Lifetime Success. And that visual representation encompasses all of our highest hopes for our graduates. And this encompasses every piece of our strategic plan as well. And it sets the stage for what's to come. The next big piece of our strategic plan is our vision document. And our vision document actually has 4 critical pieces. I'll start with our beliefs. And our beliefs are really at the core of what we're doing and why we're doing everything that we're doing in Harlingen CISD. Our beliefs guided us along the way with the development of our vision. We then have our vision and our mission, which are certainly aligned to HCISD's vision and mission. And with both of those pieces, we then come to our call for action, and our call to action. And our call to action drove every single piece of our planning, because if you look up on the screen, it was our duty to ensure that everything that we did through our strategic plan would certainly inspire our students to reach their full potential, and not just inspire them, but also equip them with what they needed to be successful. And then lastly, we have our learner outcomes. And our learner outcomes are important because they frame the work that lies ahead. This, coupled with our goals, are critical pieces of our plan because this guides us for the next 3 to 5 years. This entire vision document was created after a very comprehensive review of our feedback and after days 1 and 2 with our strategic planning committee. The next piece are the goals. And our goals are that we have 5 critical goals. And the goals will ensure that we stay true to the intent of each piece of our strategic plan. As we go through these goals, I will take a little bit more time on the first goal just to walk you through a couple of very important pieces. But these 5 goals we will review very briefly, and we'll begin with goal 1. So up on the screen you see that our first goal is to create a transformed school district that ensures high quality instruction and individualized learning, resulting in maximum achievement for all students. And when you take a look at that goal, that's a fabulous goal, and that was adopted by our strategic planning committee. But we knew that to ensure that we were going to stay true to the intent of goal 1, we needed to incorporate our community members and HCISD employees to define what we call specific results. So the 4 statements under goal 1 are 4 statements that are going to guide the work for 3 to 5 years that will help us to ensure that we reach all that we intended to reach with goal 1. And if you look at goal 1 is actually to take our safe learning environment one step further as we transform our learning spaces to maximize our achievement for all students. The transformation in this goal will capitalize on high quality instruction that will prepare our digital district for specialized learning experiences. And we now move to goal 2. Goal 2 focuses on a systemic approach to attract, develop, and retain world-class educators. We want the very best in every classroom throughout our district. And not only do we want to attract and hire the very best, but we will embed opportunities for these individuals to perfect their practice. Another component of this goal will be to organize opportunities for growing our own in Harlingen CISD. We know that valued employees will stay if they are allowed to be lifelong learners as well. Then we move to goal 3, and goal 3 will focus on the implementation of a collaborative learning platform in which data will continue to be at the forefront of all we do. Learning environments will capitalize on opportunities for communication, collaboration, creativity, and critical thinking. In addition, infused technology will expand our digital district and take us to new heights in learning. For goal 4, we turn our focus to a systemic piece that will prepare all of our learners for post-secondary choices. We will assess numeracy and literacy at the early grades and expand enrichment opportunities for all of our students. Also under Goal 4, we will guide students in the creation of electronic individualized portfolios because we know that this too will be a positive factor in college and career readiness. We then move to Goal 5, last but certainly not least, Go5 will engage our community and capitalize on the benefits of having strong partnerships. You will soon see a greater presence of Harlingen CISD in our community because the partnerships will allow the district to market our success in the community where we naturally exist. These initiatives will provide a structure for enhancing our current learning opportunities because they too will bring real-world application to our classrooms. Mr. President, the strategic plan presented this evening encompasses the community's highest hopes for students while allowing for disruptive innovation that will only enhance learning experiences for all. The span of the strategic plan is 3 to 5 years. Strategic planning goals will ensure a systemic approach for inspiring learners to reach their full potential and to be equipped for success. At this time, on behalf of the administration, I would like to recommend the adoption of the following components of the strategic plan: the plan title, the vision document, the goals, and their respective specific results. Furthermore, I would like to recommend the adoption of the strategic planning goals as the Harlingen CISD goals. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Garton.
Mr. President,
Yes, Dr. Pettis.
I move that the board approve and adopt the strategic plan and strategic goals as HCISD goals as expressed and set forth by Mrs. Cortana and by administration.
Give a motion by Dr. Pettis. Second. Second by Mr. Powers. Is there discussion?
I would like to take an opportunity for just one thing, please.
Ms.
To
Flourier.
say that it is a joy to have this brought forward so professionally. We thank you so very, very much, and it will be a pleasure to proceed to the vote. Thank you.
Dr. Maldonado.
President, I want to thank the committee for their time and their effort. This is a critically important document in our transformational journey. And this is what sets us apart from a lot of our colleagues in other districts. And we begin with transformation in the 9th grade academy at the Kano Academy, and moving forward with the plan that's set forth here clearly outlines what our intent and and it lays out a roadmap for the future. So I want to thank all of you for your commitment to this district and to all of our students. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Maldonado.
Mr. President,
Dr. Pettis.
and I want to echo the remarks of my board members. I think this is a great time in the history of the school district, and it's sort of all coming together at the right time in the right place with the right leadership of Dr. Cavazos. And I am too, like Dr. Maldonado said, equally proud of all the participation of our community members. And when you listen to Mrs. Cortan's presentation, excellent presentation, by the way, but you really realize the high expectations that we have for our students and for our community, because we realize there's a great need to transform learning and to transform the way we deliver public education. As we all know, there's a lot of pressure, political pressures in Austin and DC, job pressures, employability pressures, lifestyle pressures, pressures to make a living, to be self-sufficient, to be able to be a self-learner so that you can create your own job in the future. And we know that unless we, take that call and rise to that challenge, unless we do that, we're going to continue to see students going towards private parochial schools, charter schools, et cetera, et cetera. And we know, and I hope that y'all agree with this comment, that that's just not scalable to size. I think it's great that we have choices. We often have discussions and we use them to motivate us. How can we learn from them? We're honest in that discussion. There's some great things that they're doing that we need to be doing. But we want to be the school district, the school of choice, and have that rigor, that relevant learning, that culture in each school, from all of our elementary schools to our middle schools to our high schools, that culture that's a learning culture where students are inspired and they go home and get their parents excited, so that then we get the engagement of the parents, and the parents then have higher expectations for their kids. And so that's what we're trying to create. I think this has been a great process, and the thing that excites me the most is this didn't come from us. This was the community. This was the people in the community saying, this is what we need. And so very exciting that it's all coming together at the right time and the right place, and that we have the buy-in from the community and the leadership from the community, because we can't do this alone. We need parent support. We need help in figuring out how to inspire those parents that, that aren't engaged in their students' education. And so it's just with great pride that I'm here tonight and that we approve this strategic plan and adopt these goals as our new district goals. But kudos to the community, and there's a lot of work to be done, but it's going to be exciting, and it's all for the right reasons. So thank you all very much.
Thank you, Dr. Bettis. Mr. Powers.
Just very briefly, agree totally, Nolan. I don't think you could have put it any better. I just want to also thank everybody that was in. I look out here at this audience, and I see the people that compose this committee, and I know from our reports and our meetings the hours that you all put in this process. I mean, all of y'all have jobs and families, and I know you took several days off out of your busy schedules. Some of you run businesses, have businesses, work in businesses, and thank you so very much for spending the time to help create this project, which is so vital to our district. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Powers. Let me just say that you see how positive our board is, how passionate they are, and they're quite persuasive, aren't they? Wow, my goodness. Well, let's call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed. The motion carries. Well, let's get you a little applause. And now, you all who braved the inclement weather, you're here. And we're going to certainly recognize you appropriately. There will be a photo opportunity, and Ms. Cartan, we're going to recognize the individuals, however you want to do this.
Mr. Strubhart and I wanted to invite our entire strategic plan and all of its our strategic planning committee up for a photo with our board members.
You know, one thing that I would have done, I don't run this, but I would have recognized each one of you individually.
We can do that.
Okay, now see, he's a brand new superintendent, right? He's been on the honeymoon, so I'm going to start tonight, right? So, okay, I'm kidding. No, seriously, let me say that Dr. Pettis was represented the board on the strategic plan committee, and I accompanied him with that as well. And you all probably saw a side of the board that's a little bit different, and we really enjoyed the discussions, the engagements, and we tried to be persuasive, but it was great. Let me just tell you, it was great, and we want to thank all of you for being here, taking the time to really make the difference. And just on a personal note for me, and this being Black History Month, and I go back, I'm a very mature person, by the way. You know what that means, right? You go back in history, so my maturity takes me back to something that's somewhat connected, you might say, to this country in terms of the Constitution and what it really means. And when I think about a transformed school district, you're talking about not only transforming not a district, but the people. We talk about students learning and your parents there. What we want in the future for our children and for this country is going to take education. And education is going to be the key. We know that, and it's so important. And Dr. Pettis and my colleagues said it so correctly in that we really want to be the school district of choice. And choice is so important. Choice in a way that parents can say, this is what we want. And we're making every effort to make that happen. So we're so proud of that. Let's have the photo shoot, and Dr. Cavazos, we'll have you close at some point in time when it's appropriate. Okay?
Mr. McShann, may I just make one additional comment? I was waiting until after the vote to say this, but of course we knew how the vote would go. It was fairly assured with the enthusiastic look on the faces of my colleagues. But what I would like to say is that you have given us a tremendous opportunity. You have given us something that has such significant potential that it will, in fact, reflect what happens in the lives of our now 18,563 students and growing for the next 3 to 5 years, and actually establish a foundation from which all children who come to these schools will benefit. But I also would just like to reflect that we have a responsibility as well. and you have given us your highest hopes. You have dreamed for us, and you have brought forward something that is so really important. And we have an important response, and that is that we will be true. We will bring integrity to what you have given to us. It is now our job to be sure that we implement what you have given to us, and we will take that very seriously. That is our commitment to you, along with our deepest appreciation. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Ms. Laurier. Let's get on with the photo shoot.
Join me.
Hey, the meetings are over quick. So tomorrow night at 6:30? Yeah. I'll send a reminder
No, you still have a chance.
Am I? I just get practicing. Yeah.
This time is my honor to call on President Superintendent Cavazos.
Mr. Chair, board members, senior team, and audience, and specifically the Strategic Planning Committee members that are here tonight. So let's talk a little bit about the honeymoon. Just kidding. And so at the point where I was named your interim superintendent, we were asked to move forward and launch strategic planning. That started in September. And here we are in the February board meeting as planned, bringing forth a very important document. I often say that it's important to plan the work, and that's what you all have done, and you've helped us do that. And now it's our charge to work the plan. We take that responsibility serious. For the community, the purpose of the strategic plan is to build systems of efficiency and effectiveness across our school district family, to build world-class schools for all students, all 18,563. In Harlingen CISD, we want students to be engaged in lifetime learning. Transforming learning for global achievement will shape the district for the next 3 to 5 years. From high school redesign to alignment of new programs, renovations of our facilities, and the implementation of new technology. This will serve our leadership as the outline for meeting the expectations of our community and the 800 that participated in this journey in building a school district that meets the needs of our students in this school district. As we move forward in developing our action plans, I commit that we will keep the public informed of our continued transformation through our communication sources like our website, our mobile app, and social media pages. In HCISD, we have the right people in place who here to execute the plan because we have a caring staff who put students first. I thank the board and the entire community for coming together in completing this important strategic document. And let me remind you, as I started every meeting with the Strategic Planning Committee, this plan is not for us. It's for those students who are depending on our very best. And tonight, you all gave them your very best. It's our responsibility to take it from here, and we continue to want you engaged in our schools. Thank you, and thank you.
And thank you, Dr. Cavazos. As you note, he's very thoughtful. He's well organized. We're just so proud of the direction that this district is taking. And I want to say to you, want to thank you for having the public trust in this board. And we will certainly do our due diligence in making sure that we be able to live this vision. When we say we live the vision, we're talking about you, the stakeholders, most importantly, our students and parents, to make sure that every child has an equal life chance to reach their hopes and dreams in life. That's really what it's all about. Again, thank you all so very much. We know you have a lot to do, so we will be understandable. You have some things to do tonight, and we'll continue with the business. So thank you very much. We'll move now to awards and recognitions. PTSA Students of the Month for January, Mr. Strubart.
Thank you, Mr. President, board members, Dr. Cavazos, administration, and audience. Tonight, HCISD would like to recognize the January Students of the Month from Harlingen High School South, and Early College High School with interviews of each of these students.
My name is Juan Maldonado. I'm a senior at Harlingen High School. Inside of school, I'm involved in marching band, NHS, student council, and THS, science club. Outside of school, I'm involved in the South Texas Youth Symphony.
My name is Matthew Muniz. I'm a senior at Harlingen High School. Inside school, I'm in NHS, NTHS, PTSA, science club. Outside of school, I'm involved in church and community work.
I've learned teamwork and leadership skills. I've learned also how to manage my time wisely.
I've learned discipline, how to work with others, and how to do good in these clubs.
I really enjoy working with a lot of different people, and I really enjoy music. And the reason I enjoy doing this is that I get to express feelings, emotions that I wouldn't otherwise get to.
I'm passionate about discovering new things, figuring out problems, and trying to solve hard puzzles or hard problems that people can't do themselves, like engineering.
I'm thinking about majoring in chemical engineering. I've been accepted to UT, A&M, Notre Dame, and MIT, but I'm still waiting to hear from other universities, so I'm not sure yet.
I've been accepted to the Texas A&M Engineering School in College Station, and I'm applying so far for the Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs.
My name is Cassandra Villarreal, and I'm a senior at Harlingen High School South. Inside of school, I'm currently the colonel of the Harlingen South Southern Stars drill team, and I'm also a member of the PTSA, of Student Council, and National Technical Honor Society. And outside of school, I'm involved in the Highland Hustlers 4-H Club.
My name is Jeffrey Guevara. I'm a senior at Harlingen High School South. Inside of school, I'm involved in football, National Honor Society, National Technical Honor Society, decathlon. And outside of school, I'm a Boy Scout. I'm an Eagle Scout from Troop 142 in Harlingen.
I've definitely learned how to be a lot more responsible due to my leadership roles. I was president, vice president of my 4-H club last year and the years before, and I'm currently the colonel of the drill team, and it's taught me a lot of valuable lessons about responsibility and about time management and organization.
Being involved in football has been a big lesson for me. I've learned about leadership, I've learned about being part of a team, and that's really what I've learned through being involved in these different activities.
I would definitely say I'm passionate in my volunteer work. I spend a lot of my time volunteering at St. Anthony's Catholic Church, at the Gladys Porter Zoo, the Humane Society. I'm also a part of the volunteer group called Dare to Be Different.
I'm passionate about learning. I love math. Math is my thing. I've taken all the math that Harlingen South offers, and I'm just excited about learning math. I like the subjects that are black and white.
After I graduate, I would like to attend Texas A&M University and major in animal sciences, and afterwards get my doctorate in veterinary medicine.
I'm interested in going to the University of Texas A&M. I want to major in aerospace engineering and be an aerospace engineer. My dream is to be an engineer for Boeing.
I'm Zachary McNutt, Early College High School, Harlingen. I'm a senior 12th grade. I'm a part of the Early College High School robotics team and the rockets team. I'm also the president of the engineering club.
My name is Abby Miletus. I'm a senior at Early College High School. I am vice president of senior class cabinet. I'm a member of Relay for Life, and outside I usually volunteer at elementaries.
I've learned that you need tremendous patience when you're working, because when you're building machines or you're trying to fix them, there are many things that can go wrong. A lot of the time you're encountering problems you've never faced, but patience above anything is what it takes. But a lot of that you have to learn through experience.
I've learned many strategies with working with little kids. I've learned leadership skills and responsibility and organization.
I'm passionate about working with machines and designing them, mostly working with them. Along those lines, I'd actually like to make a career out of it. I want to work on wind turbines and fix them, but that desire comes from my experience in the engineering program. And the engineering club actually made me interested in working with machines. I can't see much I'd actually like to work with besides that.
I'm passionate about children. I really want to teach little children and see them learn because of me.
I'd like to go to Texas Tech and get a bachelor's in applied science in wind energy in Lubbock, Texas.
I'm looking into UTPA and Kingsville. I haven't decided, but I want to become a teacher, so I should be graduating with my associates, and then I'll continue on my bachelor's and hopefully my master's too.
At this time, I would like to ask the students that are present this evening to stand and be recognized. I would also like the parents to stand and be recognized. Parents? I'd like to invite all of our students in the month to the front for a photo. So students, please come forward for a photo. And I'd like to invite the entire board down for a photo as well. Smiles, 1, 2, 3, and one more, 1, 2, 3. Excellent. Parents, don't want to come forward?
I'll take a picture of all of you. It's your
Let's give our students another big round of applause. And the Rio Grande Valley Lead Counselor of the Year, Shane Strubart.
Mr. President, board members, Dr. Cavazos, administration, and audience. Ms. Perez, would you please come forward? I'd like her to stand next to me while I read this off here. Tonight, we celebrate the achievements of one of HCISD's outstanding counselors. Valerie Paredes, Tech Academy Counselor at Harlingen High School South, was named the RGV Lead Counselor of the Year during its 2013 Regional Conference. It's an award that recognizes her efforts to help students at HCISD and the Rio Grande Valley remain on the path towards college and career readiness. The Counseling Excellence Award is presented to an individual who excels in meeting the vision and mission of the collaborative. It was a result of her efforts to bring career awareness and preparation between several groups such as career counselors, academic counselors, regular education teachers, CTE teachers, students, and parents. As a former liaison for RGV Mentors, RGV Lead, and MedEd programs, she has dedicated herself to helping students succeed. While at South, the campus has seen more students in their CTE and dual enrollment programs than ever before. In the past 4 years, the program has grown from the 2010 summer program, in which 14 students earned 54 college hours, to 2013, where in the spring program, 259 students earned 1,165 college hours. Wow. Paredes is currently a PhD candidate in rehabilitation counseling at the University of Texas Pan American. Tonight, we congratulate Valerie and her achievements and thank her for the efforts she gives to our students and benefits their futures. At this time, I would like Mr. McShann, Dr. Cavazos, the principal, Dr. Rodriguez, and our Director of Guidance and Counseling, Ms. Sandra Tovar, to come forward for a group photo. And then we'll have the entire board come right after that.
Okay.
I need to get you some sunglasses for the lights in your eyes.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Excellent. Now we go to the approval of minutes. Now we move to the approval of minutes for the regular board meeting, January 14th, 2014.
Approval of minutes.
I move that the minutes be approved as submitted.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Power, second by Mr. De Leon. Is there discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now we move to the principal's report. It's Vivian Bauer, principal of the Dr. Abraham P. Cano Freshman Academy.
We're going to start with our video.
Very well.
Here at Cano Academy, we have approximately 11 PLCs, and that ranges from our support staff to our teachers, our administrators, and other types of leadership teams that we do have on campus. So PLCs are a big part of our culture here at Cano, and in my opinion, it's been one of the most beneficial things that our teachers and students have.
Well, the collaborative model in my classroom is used by teaming. So the kids are always broken up into groups, either 3s, 5s, depending on the assignment, sometimes at slightly bigger groups. Basically, it's so that they can break down an assignment into parts, look up, do some research, do some thinking, and come back into their whole group and share out the ideas, their findings.
We really give the students an opportunity to realize that the responsibility of learning is more than just sitting in a desk and listening to information. So they take a lot of ownership to the learning that goes on in their classrooms. And again, that stems from building that foundation for the teachers of this is what collaboration looks like, this is what it feels like, and that transfers into the classroom. And so the students, I think they now are very comfortable with that, and it's something that they're probably going to expect to see next year and the next 3 years, actually.
When our school opened, we started with, this is where we want to be. And our focus was always excellence for all, success for all. Everybody's going to move on at all costs. I mean, we're going to focus on the kids. We're going to have, we have our standards, we have our expectations. They know what's expected. We want everybody to be successful. Now, how are we going to reach that? And so from the beginning of the school year to now, they've been able to increase drastically because we're getting more comfortable in where we are. The kids now know what PBL is. They now know about working together, and they know that what our expectations are, and we're serious about the expectations we have. If you're allowed to use your device, you better use it effectively, and it's not a free-for-all for anybody in the school. And so now that everybody knows the systems that are in place, and they know that we expect everybody to achieve, it allows for a smoother transition for all of them to learn.
I really like the different schools. I feel like you can find what you want to do before you actually go into college, and it gives you time to think about what maybe you're interested in, what field you're interested in.
We're transforming the way learning is and how it has been, and so in working at other campuses, it's what we've always known the education system to be. The way the classroom is set up, the way the information is being delivered, everything has been that way for so long, and so Cano completely transformed it to, it's no longer the focus on the teacher, the focus is now on the kids, and how are the kids going to reach the information. And what Cano is doing is No, they need to learn how to find the answers. They need to learn, you know, how to work with other people. They need to learn on their own and be responsible and held accountable for their learning. And so it's, yes, we want them to learn all this content, but along the way in doing the PBL process, in allowing them to use technology and giving them responsibility, they're learning all of these life skills that'll help them outside of the school, outside of their education. And they'll become better citizens. They'll become productive members of society, because it's more about, I'm here to benefit you as a person, not just here's my content, here's the information you need to know, see you next year. We're more there for them on a personal level.
Mr. President, board members, Dr. Cavazos, administrative staff, and audience members, good evening.
Evening.
Thank you. How exciting it is to be here this evening to report to you the great things that are happening at the Dr. Abraham P. Cano Freshman Academy after being open for just 5 short months. What we have accomplished thus far is where we expected to be in year 2. We are farther along than we anticipated. This is because of a vision that started almost 4 years ago with the 2010 bond initiative and has carried through to today. We have assembled an excellent faculty and staff who are focused on the success of our students. Our almost 1,300 students have been given the opportunity to focus on their freshman year. Our success is due also in a major part because you had us plan the work 2 years prior to the opening of this school. Thank you for having that foresight. Yes, and you've heard this before from Dr. Cavazos, so you know that I listened to him because he knows how to do it. Yes, we planned the work for more than 2 years, and now I'm happy to report that as we work the plan, it is proving to be successful, as evident in the testimony shown in our video tonight. This was and is key to sustain our system. As House Bill 5 made changes, HCISD is ahead in providing programs of study to all freshmen through the 5 schools of choice and the 11 programs of study. By providing a technology-rich environment with our BYOD Technology Implementation Program, where our entire campus is a safe zone implementing great lessons designs supported by this technology. Our professional learning communities, and I believe one of Mrs. Salinas spoke about the 11 layers, as referred to in the video, is our support system on campus, as we learn together to know best about our students and their needs. Our small learning communities afford our teachers the time to focus on their grades, behavior, and attendance. The collaborative model based on project-based learning helps our students learn important 21st century skills that will prepare them to be college and career ready, creating, at Dr. Cano, a culture of success, acceptance, and belonging. We are happy to announce our newest endeavors. Our Raven Opportunity Center, the ROC as we refer to it, is our after-school enrichment program designed to assist our students with multiple learning opportunities, such as classroom content, homework help, makeup work, STAR preparation, credit recovery, collaborative group meeting time after school, as well as providing extended hours in our ILC. Our Classroom Connection to Business venture is currently being coordinated, which will allow 10 of our teachers this spring the opportunity to shadow business partners twice a month. These teachers in turn will bring that job connection back to the classroom. Our Raven Readers program is our school-wide reading program to ensure that we emphasize the importance of reading as a lifelong skill. And we are thrilled to report, I want to stay ecstatic, but we're not at 100% yet. We are thrilled to report a 94% passing rate at the end of our first semester. And I think that deserves a round of applause. Absolutely, right? I didn't say 6% failure rate. Okay, turned it around. Said it anyway. All righty, our students are ahead already. And we're proud to be the model for the high school redesign because as our students look forward to continuing in their programs of study, learning in small communities with the collaborative model as the learning platform and the BYOD technology plan, the high school redesign process becomes a critical piece for continuity and the success of our students as they move on to the high schools. In closing, creating a culture of change, transforming for the betterment of our students is daring, is mindful, is having a shared vision, is planning the work, then working the plan. All important to be the change to provide success for our students now, but more importantly, for their futures. It has been and continues to be an incredible journey of transformation. We still have much to do and learn, but we have started well. And at this time, I would like to recognize our administrative staff, teachers, parents, and students who are in the audience because we do not work in isolation, but as a team. Please stand. And I know when I was practicing this, I got very emotional because this has like been the birthing process and the growing of a child for me. I can tell you, this has been so incredible.
Yeah.
It's the best thing that's ever happened to me in my career. And I want to thank you for that opportunity again. Dr. Cano, Freshman Academy is on the map. Thank you so much for your support.
Thank you, Mrs. Bauer. Just stand there for a while. I mean, let's give her, you know, come on. She's doing I have a lot of institutional memory. Let me share with you that we were honored to have Ms. Bauer as a presenter at the Midwinter Conference for the Texas Association of School Administrators together with Dr. Cavazos, and the presentation was extraordinary. But I picked up on one thing she said. See, I was hanging on that word. She said, for a second, no, she said for a nanosecond, I asked myself about maybe before the school opened, what have I gotten myself into?
Absolutely.
But she said a nanosecond. Now, how about that? I mean, just a wink. But seriously, to you, your team, we're so proud of your accomplishments. We know that transformation is so important. And in public education, when we look to Cano Academy and what we're doing there, that is the right direction. We appreciate you all so much for making it happen. You're there every day, and sometimes when I'm in the district, I'll just try to just drive around I have a little time, just drive around the campus, and you see it there. It is magnificent. So again, we just want to publicly thank you for your leadership and your team. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Your support has been incredible.
Thank you. Board members?
I would like to comment, please. You know, it's very interesting, Vivian, having your outstanding report on your wonderful new campus follow the presentation of the strategic plan, because what impressed me so much as I was listening to your discussion is the fact that you have taken a transformational model, pardon me, and implemented it successfully. But the neatest thing is that you're continuing to transform, and as you go. And I think that's what's going to happen to our district. You know, that we think we know where we're going with transformation, but if transformation is as successful as we believe it will be, there will be new things transforming all the time. And I'm thinking specifically of your after-school enrichment. I think that's a wonderful idea. Many schools don't get there for many years. And yet in the midst of your trying new ideas and doing new things and being successful with them, you're doing additional new things, and your nights out where your students perform. It has just been a joy to watch that happening, and I think it's very instructive for us, because that's what I'm looking for, Dr. Cavazos. You know, we're not looking at a strategic plan model to do something and that will be static. You know, we're looking at a model that's going to continue transforming as we go. And I think you're the perfect example of that, and I appreciate you bringing that to my attention. I hadn't really anticipated that, and yet it's what I think, if we do this best, is going to happen as we transform. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Flourier. Thank you. Mr. De Leon.
Vivian, I want to compliment you. You know, about 4 years ago when we started this, a lot of the individuals and the concerns that were in the public's mind was, we've done this before. We had a 9th grade academy. It wasn't successful, and a lot of parents had concerns, had issues, and one of the things that we had to fight was the past. And 4 years later, we're sitting right now talking about all the great things that are happening, the transformation that is occurring. Not one time has any, and I don't know if my respective colleagues have received any phone calls, but I have not received one phone call since we've implemented this, even before we did this. And that says kudos to what you've done. We had a strategic plan. We laid it out to let everybody know what was going on. There was no blindsiding. It was transparent, and we had a vision, and we specifically wrote it down to say, this is the goal, these are the benchmarks, these are objectives, and this is the outcome. And because of that, I think people are reassured that this time around, it's the best time around. So thank you. That means a lot to what you're doing, your staff. You know, you're only as good as the people around you, and you have a fantastic staff. So the board is 100% behind you, and we thank you for making it successful so that we don't hear the phone calls of, there you did, you spent some money, and we did the same thing 10, 15 years ago. So thank yous and kudos to all the hard work that you all are doing.
Thank you, and I want to recognize my administrative staff and my teachers that are here tonight, because again, this school cannot happen and won't happen without the people, and you're exactly right. So you guys take another bow, because you guys make it happen each and every day.
Very good.
They won't, because they're just good workers and stuff, and we all are focused on that one thing that drives us each and every day, student success. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Bauer. I just have to add a little humor. You know, they say the second time around is always a little bit better, right? Well, this is my second time around. I was around for that train wreck way back then. And some of the people in the audience were students out there. I'm not going to call your name, right? Hint, hint. But they were students in that 9th grade campus way back then. But the point I want to make is this, and this is what we're so proud of in our district, that we reinvent and repurpose ourselves as a district. And we do this as a board, we do this as staff, we do this as a community, because change is upon us. So though you get stuck sometimes in back in the past, but my granddaughter always remind me that I get stuck in the past sometimes. And she gets great humor out of that, right? She does. But we have to remember, we have to think forward. We have to live the vision today for tomorrow. And that's what's happened here. I think everyone has said that, the leadership we have. So think about change in terms, I see parents out there, you have seniors. They're going to be leaving home, and I know there's going to be a lot of stress with some. I'm looking at parents. It's going to be okay. Just reinvent and repurpose yourselves. That is true, and we do that, and that's what we're so proud of here. So thank you so very much for your report. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Well done.
Now we have public comments. Don't have any public comments. Very good.
Thank you, Greg.
We move to consent agenda, approval of proclamations. Dr. Cavazos, we have the
Yes.
Texas Public School Week.
Mr. President, board members, senior team, audience, we have two proclamations. One is Texas Public School Week, March 3rd through the 7th. Every March, we celebrate public schools across our state and their commitments to student success. It's the efforts of teachers, administrators, staff members, parents, and the community that ensure our public schools thrive year after year. As the landscape of education continues to change, that support will remain integral in the continued success of public education. These points further reinforce our state's tradition of a strong public education system. From March 3rd to March 7th, HCISD, along with public schools around the state, will celebrate Texas Public Schools Week, and the year's designated theme is Leave Your Mark. The year's theme encourages students and teachers to leave their mark for a brighter future every day. Our democracy is dependent on a strong public education system, and we recommend passing of this proclamation of Texas Public Schools Week, March 3rd through the 7th.
And now we have the National Nutrition Month, Dr. Cavazos.
National Nutrition Month, March 2014. Continuing nutrition education while promoting various options for physical activity is essential in the wide-scale effort to enhance good eating practices. March marks National Nutrition Month, which focuses attention on the importance of making informed food choices and developing sound eating and physical activity habits. The month recognizes that food preferences, lifestyle, culture, and ethnic traditions and health concerns all impact individual food choices. We encourage all citizens to join us in on the celebration of health and become mindful of their nutrition practices. By raising awareness, we are not only promoting a healthy today, but a healthy tomorrow as well.
And thank you, Dr. Cavazos. You have before you the remainder of the consent agenda. What's your pleasure?
Make a motion for approval.
I second the
We have
motion.
a motion by Mr. De Leon, second Ms. Flourier. Is there discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Matters relating to transformation and school support. We have the Innovation and Technology Committee report, Dr. Cavazos.
Mr. President, board members, audience, senior team, 2 items were presented on February 4th. One was the review and discussion of the strategic plan, which was adopted tonight after a lengthy discussion and review of it on February 4th. We also reviewed and discussed high school redesign, the first guiding principle, technology-rich environment. Dr. Noyola, our Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum Instruction, presented that item and explained to the board that changing an existing culture is a little different than creating a culture altogether, as we did at Kano Academy. I thank Dr. Noyola for her work in that area, and of course Veronica Corton for strategic plan. And so that highlights our Innovation and Technology Committee report for February.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Cavazos. Now we'll move to matters related to curriculum and instruction. We have the bilingual ESL program evaluation. Dr. Kent Hinton and Dr. Alicia Noyola.
Mr. McShann, board members, Dr. Cavazos, senior team, and audience. In January of 2013, the Texas Education Agency conducted an on-site review to examine student performance and program effectiveness. The programs reviewed were bilingual education, English as a second language, career and technical education, and special education. TEA finalized their report in May of 2013. The report called for HCISD to conduct an external evaluation of our bilingual ESL program. In compliance with this mandate, HCISD contracted with a team of researchers from the University of Texas at Brownsville. The lead researcher of this team, Dr. Kip Hinton, is here this evening to present the findings of their external evaluation, which took place from June to December of 2013. They conducted this study as independent and unbiased researchers with a commitment to produce a high-quality evaluation that would help HCISD improve its program effectiveness. The team focused on addressing 5 research questions. What does HCISD do well with English language learners? In what areas does HCISD need to improve its support for English learners? Do HCISD programs or curriculum align with state and national guidelines? Do the findings of this evaluation align with findings of the TEA report? And finally, what are the recommendations for corrective action? At this time, I would like to turn it over to Dr. Kip Hinton for his evaluation.
Thank you, Dr. Noyola. Hello, and thank you for having us at this meeting to give this presentation. I'll just go quickly through this because Dr. Noyola summarized some of the issues. Specifically, the TEA's on-site report in May of last year was prompted by some failure to meet accountability standards and some procedural problems to show support for English language learners, specifically the scores on the TAKS and reading, the passing rates, and the graduation rate as shown here. This was included in the initial report from the TEA last May. So the goals of our evaluation were to identify the practices and systems in support for ELLs within HCISD that are most likely the causes of these deficiencies, and to make recommendations for changes based on best practice from published research. She already went through these research questions, and we'll come back to them as we get to each one. So this was a data collection that involved a survey of HCISD employees. We received responses from 450 teachers, administrators, and counselors. Observations at 33 classrooms at 16 campuses, many interviews, many hours of observation and interview data. So we analyzed the qualitative data from each campus separately, independently, and then each of the qualitative findings and the quantitative findings were compared and triangulated to increase the validity. Then, based on the best practices, we developed the recommendations that could improve outcomes for the English learners in the district. So the first question, what does HCISD do well with ELLs? We found significant support for the dual language bilingual program, which is a new and growing program in the district. I'll talk about that a little more in a second. We found quality instruction within the dual language bilingual program. That is, teachers in the program and administrators in that program who know what needs to be done to provide good instruction to those students. We found many educators who support English acquisition, and they do this such as by integrating the English language proficiency standards, some of them by integrating SIOP, following basic practices that help students to learn English. And we found a lot of instances of the required data monitoring being carried through successfully. We found advanced courses offered for Spanish speakers, including AP Spanish, AP Literature, and some beginnings of a program for advanced courses at the high school level that are offered in Spanish to English learners. And we found caring relationships where ELLs are made to feel comfortable and supported. So in terms of the idea of support for the dual language bilingual, one of the things that we did is we sought the opinions and the professional opinions of the people who work in the district. We asked the administrators and counselors in the district to tell us about the program model that is currently implemented in the school. The results of this helped us to verify the accuracy of our sample by finding out which programs are being represented in our sample. And we asked them what program they prefer for their school. Overwhelmingly, the most popular choice was the dual language bilingual two-way. Nearly half of the administrators and counselors would prefer that program in the school, and that includes people who work at the elementary, middle, and high school level. The second question, what areas does HCISD need to improve? We found a widespread, not dominant, but widespread English-only attitude. That is, educators who believe that English is the only language that should be used at school. This is not a majority, and I'll get to the specifics of that in a second, but it is present at many schools. We found insufficient research-based practices to promote literacy. There is some, but there's not enough, and there's some specific things that can be done to improve the practices that promote literacy. We found insufficient support for Spanish, even within programs that are supposed to support Spanish, such as the bilingual early exit program and the Spanish elective programs. Not all of the Spanish elective classrooms successfully help students to learn or develop their Spanish knowledge. We found an idea of educational equality, which some teachers and some administrators interpret as meaning give the same education to all students no matter who they are. In fact, the practices according to the state are that you have to provide different education to people depending on their needs. And English learners present a special case that need different practices. We found that English learners' parents are not included enough. There are a lot of very robust parent participation programs at many campuses, but in general, across the board, there is significantly less participation by the English learners and much less by participation by the parents of the English learners who are struggling in those schools. We found incomplete training for bilingual and Spanish teaching methods. There's some good professional development in certain areas throughout the district, but specifically the teaching methods that are needed in a bilingual classroom, the teaching methods needed to teach Spanish either within a dual language or bilingual program or as an elective. And we found missing or incorrect resources in classrooms, such as ESL classrooms that are using English language arts books, or bilingual classrooms that lack Spanish materials even when part of the curriculum is supposed to be in Spanish. And we found a pattern of exclusion from extracurriculars and electives. English learners in many cases, as prompted this investigation by the TEA, English learners often have lower test scores in the STAR or the TAKS. When this happens, the schools respond by prescribing tutoring, such as tutoring that has to be after school or tutoring that happens during an elective period for all the other students. When this happens, the students don't have access to those electives and those extracurriculars, and they tend to become more disengaged. Additionally, there are many teachers who say that the schools don't necessarily offer the electives that would be of the most interest to their Spanish-speaking students. So this is another element directly from the data. We asked the teachers and the administrators and the counselors to share their expert opinion of what is happening in the district. Why do you think HCISD has not been successful in educating and graduating English learners? The top answers are shown here. Some bilingual classrooms are not really bilingual. They only use one language. That is a very dominant theme in all areas of the data, the survey, the observations, the interviews. And that relates to many of the issues that are happening in the district. You can see a few of these others on here that I'll touch on in the recommendations. Related to this idea of improvement, we wanted to find out about the resources the district has for doing something like teaching Spanish. Now, as you know, within a dual language program, you have to increase the number of courses that are teaching students Spanish every year. As the first graders move to second, the second graders move to third. That means you have a continuous need for more and more teachers who can teach in Spanish. So we asked the teachers about this, and so what we have here is we're presenting data on the teachers' knowledge of Spanish and the teachers' ability to begin and willingness to begin teaching in Spanish. What we found is that there are many people in HCISD, many teachers in HCISD who speak Spanish, but just because they speak Spanish, it would be a mistake to assume that means that they feel ready or want to teach in Spanish. And in fact, as you can see here, many of them specifically do not want to teach in Spanish. Many of them would need training first, which makes sense. If you have been teaching in English for years and you're suddenly going to be teaching part of the day in Spanish, you would need training for that. But we did find bilingual certified teachers who don't want to teach in Spanish, even though they have a bilingual certification. And bilingual certified teachers who told us that they cannot speak Spanish, but they have a bilingual certification. So even in terms of asking a question, can we run this classroom with the bilingual certified teachers in this school? We can't necessarily assume that the bilingual certified teachers are the best people to be teaching within that school. There are some other things that we need to consider. In terms of whether there is alignment with the state and national guidelines, we found alignment in many different ways within the dual language bilingual curriculum. We found alignment with the Gomez and Gomez model, which is what the program has specifically been trying to implement. And we found general alignment with the Center for Applied Linguistics, though this is it's a difficult set of guidelines to meet, but there is some progress being made to approach that. There are a few specific things. For example, several reports that the language of the day within the dual language campuses has not really been bought into by all of the teachers on the campus, which means that the language of the day is not consistently happening in those schools, or at least not all of them. There are five schools within that I'm talking about. We found TEKS alignment in many areas. So that has been, I think, a longstanding emphasis of the district, and it has been largely successful across different programs. We found that the bilingual early exit does not align with state or national guidelines, and that the bilingual early exit in many cases seems to align with the ESL guidelines that are published by the state. And we also found incomplete English language proficiency standards alignment within the content areas, science, social studies, and math especially. Those teachers do not necessarily know how to implement the English language proficiency standards. And the fourth question, do the findings of this evaluation support the findings of the TEA on-site report? In general, the accountability data, as shown here in this chart, shows that it is still short of the goals. This is the most recent STAR tax passing rates. You can see that the English learners in each case are not only significantly below the overall students in the district, but they're also falling significantly short of the standard required by the state. Now, HCISD, of course, is not unique in this difficulty, but it is something to notice and think about. There's not a significant change from the previous year, which prompted the TEA on-site report. We found that the district plan for data monitoring exists and is improving, but it has not been integrated or understood by all teachers. Some teachers expressed confusion about it. And we found that the district level bilingual ESL office may still be understaffed, which was one of the claims the TEA made. They felt that the staff might not be enough considering the large number of students involved in this program. And we found teachers who still expressed concern about the student transfer points or transition points. This is what the TEA is talking about when a student is moved from one program to another, such as exited from a bilingual program, or moved from a bilingual to an ESL program, or moved from elementary to middle school or middle school to high school. There are still teachers, for example, at one grade level who don't know the teachers at the next grade level, if it's at a middle school or a high school, and they haven't necessarily planned their curriculum together or figured out ways to bridge support for the students across those transition points. The last question, what are recommendations for corrective action? Our first recommendation is legal compliance. The early exit bilingual classrooms, according to Texas law, must include Spanish and English materials and must provide the 4 language domains, listening, speaking, reading, and writing instruction. Additionally, they must provide language arts, math, science, and social studies instruction. And both of those must be conducted in English and Spanish across all of those content areas. Reading and writing in English and Spanish across all of those content areas. And the students must be allowed to demonstrate mastery of the TEKS in Spanish. So we found some pockets where some of these are being done, but we did not find any classrooms where any of the bilingual early exit classrooms where all of these things are being done, all of these 4 things here. And in fact, the one that is not done most consistently is number 2, that students in the bilingual early exit classrooms do not learn to read and write or do not improve reading and writing in Spanish. The teachers and the administrators, in general, they interpret bilingual early exit as meaning a place where students only read and write in English. And in fact, Texas law says that you can't do that. If it is a bilingual classroom, students have to be doing all of these things in English and Spanish. Now, it's possible for a district to have classrooms where students do not read and write in Spanish. That would be called ESL. But that's not what Harlingen is using at the elementary level. Additionally, in terms of the TEA achievement goals, to meet the standards of test scores that the TEA wants, to meet the graduation rates TEA wants, we have some recommendations. We recommend that HCISD consider some or all of these steps. A reduction of the exiting pressure. This gets to the problem of these transfer points for the students. A shift to late exit is recommended by many of the national guidelines as well as research. For example, the Texas Association of Bilingual Education recommends not using early exit at all because it consistently has the lowest achievement outcomes for all of the bilingual programs. And also an idea of better monitoring. Many teachers reported that there is inconsistent rating to decide when a child should be transferred out of a bilingual program. And there's also concern that once a child is transferred out of the program, that immediately means a reduction of support. So even if a child was being successful, then suddenly the child is moved out. Is a child going to keep being successful without that support? Expansion of dual language bilingual. This is something that is in the works. Once you have one grade of dual language, it's going to expand. We recommend that it be expanded carefully, perhaps by gradually switching to 100% dual language districts or moving the program to other campuses. But a widespread implementation all at once, we're not certain that HCISD is ready to make that leap. Even though some teachers and administrators specifically said they think that should happen. They think they said that they think all of the elementary schools should become dual language bilingual. We don't think that's a reasonable step to take right now or this year or next year. Fully funded bilingual education. Now, this was a question that Julio Cavazos was speaking with me about. Now, this is according to the AEIS data, which is on the TEA website. But as we note in the report, this is not necessarily reflecting the actual dollars that are being used in the classroom. And in fact, that money may be coming a different way, but it's just not showing up or being documented according to the state. So it's something to look into about how this is being funded and whether it's high enough. And it sounds like, at least this past year, that the dollar average being provided per pupil in the bilingual is substantially higher than this 51. So that this one might not be a problem. This is more of a question to try to figure out what is happening, right? Literacy, we recommend Spanish classes for all English learners. Even in situations where they're not enrolled in bilingual education, English learners can benefit by taking a Spanish class. Whatever level of Spanish they're at, if they're native Spanish speakers, they can take a Spanish class. Now, we acknowledge that not all of the English learners in Harlingen are Spanish speakers. There are some who speak a wide range of other languages, but that is not the population that Harlingen is having outcome and assessment problems with. The students who are having low scores on these assessments overwhelmingly are the Spanish-speaking English learners. And we recommend culturally relevant curriculum being more integrated across many different content areas, such as recommendations from teachers and administrators included integrating the border history and literature of this region and of the border, and connections with Mexico that aren't necessarily recognized within district curriculum, though that can be found in curriculum of other districts. Adequate Spanish and ESL materials, as I mentioned earlier. We need a lot more Spanish books, especially in the dual language campuses, especially in those classrooms and the libraries. A dual language library, a dual language campus library, ideally, half of the books in there should be in Spanish. Now, obviously, that's not the situation right now. Professional development for bilingual ESL instruction methods, as mentioned earlier. Fair access to the electives and extracurriculars. Some specific examples suggested by teachers are starting programs in Spanish UIL, mariachi, ballet folklorico, teatro. Family participation. It's a difficult challenge, but ways to get more family involved in the district across the board, especially the parents of the English learners. There's new research on emergent bilinguals. This is an idea of developing a more positive way to describe English learners. Research coming out of the work of Ofelia Garcia and Mencken in New York, that by calling the students emergent bilinguals, we can better support them within a bilingual program and recognize that they are becoming something that is more than just a monolingual. It is an emergent bilingual, saying that they have a lot of capacity and ability to contribute something to this district and the city and the state. This is a little bit of a display of what I was talking about before about the difference between people in the district who support bilingual programs and people who don't necessarily. Now, we can see that a majority of the teachers favor bilingual strategies. Almost half of the administrators and counselors favor that dual language program. And they do things that try to help their students, but they don't necessarily feel that they have the support to make this happen. These bilingual advocates will talk a lot about global and regional importance of Spanish. This is in contrast to the English-only advocates. Now, they are a small proportion, but they are scattered throughout all programs, including the bilingual early exit program. Some of them favor an Arizona-style English-only program, which is not even an option under Texas law. But it's not an option because research shows it doesn't really work very well. But the idea of not allowing Spanish in the school is something that some of these teachers and administrators still think is a good idea. They think that the attention to Spanish distracts students from learning English, which is the only thing that they will tell you is needed to succeed. So this leads to a couple questions for the future. This is not questions for today, but questions for the future of dual language bilingual in this district. In the materials that are promoting this program, the district is talking about how dual language bilingual leads to better outcomes, such as better test scores, better college access. One thing to think about is if the district is saying the dual language bilingual students will get better outcomes, does that mean that the students who are not in dual language bilingual are going to get worse outcomes? And when the dual language bilingual program is not large enough to allow everyone to get in, then what is the message that's being sent to the parents of the students? Now that means that at most of the schools right now there are bilingual early exit programs, and as I mentioned, these are not programs that are generally shown to have good outcomes in the research. The late exit and the one-way and the two-way dual language all have better outcomes than the early exit. But Harlingen is still putting students into those programs. So this is something to keep in mind as we move forward with a dual language. A dual language bilingual is designed for long-term success. The short-term gains may be small. In fact, there is some research showing that the short-term 1 to 2 year gains are lower than you get from just an ESL class. But over 5 years, over 10 years, the gains are much larger for a dual language program. So the question is there support, is there patience within the district? Not just in the top administration, but within campus administrators and within teachers and with parents themselves to wait and put the resource and support in to make this work. That is the summary of the presentation. I have the actual report here for the members of the board, and I'm happy to answer any questions or hear any thoughts you have.
Dr. Hinton, thank you very much for that very thorough and comprehensive report. We really appreciate it, very transparent. And now I'm going to ask our Superintendent, Dr. Cavazos, for comments.
First, I'd like to thank Dr. Hinton, Dr. Noyola, Norma Garcia, who heads our department, Dr. Angela Gonzalez, who is here also. We're moving in the right direction. We need to make a commitment to this program. We welcome this kind of report because it guides our work for the future. And collectively, we have a responsibility to all children in Harlingen CISD, as was evident in the adoption of the strategic plan. We will account for all kids. And so we welcome this conversation. We welcome this opportunity to grow our programming and provide the best education and continue to be the district of choice for kids in Harlingen. So thank you, Dr. Hinton, for your report. And we welcome it as an opportunity to grow in this direction.
Thank you, Dr. Cavazos, and I want to thank the staff. I see Ms. Garcia and Dr. Gonzalez. Thank you all for being here. We're very pleased. I know that Dr. Cavazos in rolling out his plan. Emphasis definitely is on the bilingual program, and we're pleased to see that. So, great job. We certainly appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. Now we'll move to matters relating to
Dr. Noyola.
I'm sorry. Dr. Noyola? I'm sorry.
It's just regarding the reports that he mentioned. We'll just have them here available for you after, for later.
Yes, certainly. Thank you. We welcome that. We move to matters relating to business services, the quarterly internal audit report. It's Nellie Ledesma.
Thank you, Mr. McShann, members of the board, Dr. Cavazos, and superintendent staff. The audit committee and I met earlier this afternoon and heard the following 3 audit reports. Special activity fund audits for Dishman Elementary and Coakley Middle School, and a report on unannounced cash audits at 9 campuses that were conducted at 9 campuses. These reports were discussed with the audit committee in detail, and I am here to answer any questions you may have, unless Mrs. Young or Ms. Villarreal would like to elaborate on what we discussed.
I would just like to comment that, excuse me, that we did have a very helpful meeting, and we learned a lot. And one of the things that I appreciate is the fact that our internal auditor, excuse me, has chosen to expand her responsibilities, and certainly in agreement with us, and is doing, in addition to the regularly scheduled audits, she is dropping by campuses to see how things are going. And I appreciate your doing that, and she's going to continue doing that with the goal of dropping by all campuses during each calendar year, informally as well as formally. And I think that's very helpful. It gives us an additional layer of information. So audit committee members, are there any questions or comments you'd like to make?
I would like to say that, as always, Nellie does a great job in
She certainly reassures me with her report, so we do appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And always, thank you, Ms. Desmond. Thank you very much. Consideration and approval for adoption of interlocal participation agreement and board resolution to join the Texas Association of School Boards, the Texas Energy Cooperative, and authorize superintendent to negotiate and execute a contract with the TASB Direct Energy for the purchase of electricity and related services. Mr. Tony Gracia, and as well as Mr. Cavazos.
Thank you, Mr. McShann and Dr. Cavazos, board members. Agenda item 9B is consideration and approval to adopt an interlocal agreement with TASB to purchase electricity and related services. It is also to allow the superintendent or designee to negotiate and execute a contract when the time is due. Mr. Gracia has been working with TASB and will give a brief overview of the proposal. So I'll hand it over to you.
Good evening, Mr. Board President, Dr. Cavazos, board members. We certainly do bring this for your consideration and approval. We looked at the different formats of going out there, and basically is it a state law that we have to go out there and competitively bid the procurement of electrical requirements for the district. And of course, our participation through this interlocal agreement with TASB does comply with that mandate. Looking at several alternatives of procurement, we looked at the different cooperatives in the state of Texas, including Region 1. TCPN has another one. We looked at that. And of course, what we've done in the past is the district has gone out there on our own and competitively bid this in a two-step process that we brought before the board. And that's basically to have you approve the process, then come back with qualified individuals, REPs, retail energy providers, that have met our qualifications, and then analyze the data that comes forth. And this is where the major impact of this participation is. And basically, I've outlined for you all a couple of slides there, and basically to show you the correlation between what's going on right now in the marketplace with the cold fronts and the cold spells that we've endured. Wow. This is the coldest winter that we've had in the last 20 years. That all, of course, puts a big strain on certain commodities out there, such as natural gas. There's many other factors that go into consideration for determining when is the best time to buy electricity. The reason we opted to bring forth this particular cooperative is because they do have an array of people. They've got 1,000 employees in Houston to do the analysis. On a kilowatt per kilowatt basis, they do bring the lowest responsible cost to the district, and that is a $10,000 limit on a per year for all their services. They do bring also additional ancillary services, such as providing energy management programs, being able to analyze what's going on in the district instantaneously. As a matter of fact, they do this for electricity, they do this for water, they do it for natural gas, they do it for many things. We had one school district where they had a leak of water, and their water bill went up substantially, and the district did not realize that this was going on. The agent for TASB, Direct Energy, caught this on their analysis board and called the district and said, "Did you all know that your water consumption has gone on 50% from last month?" And they pinpoint where that was coming from. They went out there and determined that there was a leak underneath the ground that was causing them extensive expense. This is the type of service that they'll bring to Harlingen, and we request your approval for this interlocal.
Thank you so much, Mr. Glaراcia. What's your pleasure?
I move approval as recommended by staff.
A motion by Mrs. Flourier.
I'll second.
Second by Mrs. Young. Is there a discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you so very much, and certainly getting out in front of this. It's very timely, and we appreciate your due diligence with this. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Approval of order of election and notice of trustee elections. That must be Mr. Julio Cavazos.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. McShann, Dr. Cavazos, board members. Agenda item 9C is the approval of the election order and notice of trustee election. We have places 1 and 2 that are up for election on May the 10th, 2014. All places are for a 3-year term. Early voting starts April 28th and ends May the 6th, and early voting will be conducted here. Again, this is the election order, the notice of trustee election that needs to be approved by the board before we proceed.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Cavazos. It's your pleasure.
Make a motion for approval?
A motion by Mr. De Leon,
Second.
and second Mrs. Flourier. Is there discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consider approving interlocal agreement for joining election between the City of Primera and the Harlingen Consolidated Independent School District. Mr. Julio Cavazos.
Thank you, Mr. McShann, Dr. Cavazos, board members. Agenda item 90 is the approval of joint election with the City of Primera. We are required to have a joint election with a municipality within our school boundaries. We have talked to city officials, and they have agreed to conduct a joint election with us. Every 3 years, we do a joint election with the City of Primera because the City of Harlingen does not have an election. So, we've been doing that for the past several years with the City of Primera. Again, they have agreed, and they have agreed to share the cost and the common polling place, which is in this case only one, and that will be at Primera City Hall. That's a common polling place that we would have.
Very well. Thank you. Your pleasure.
I move that we accept this recommendation.
I have a motion by Mrs. Young,
Second.
second Mr. De Leon. Is there discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Approval of appointment of early voting clerk, Mr. Cavazos.
Thank you, Mr. McShann, Dr. Cavazos, board members. Agenda item 90 is the appointment of the early voting clerk. The board is required to appoint an early voting clerk, and we're recommending Lupita Cruz, she's my secretary, to be the early voting clerk. She has done this the past 11 years, so she's very capable of doing that. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer those.
Make a motion for approval?
Motion by Mr. De Leon,
I'll second.
second Mrs. Young. There's discussion?
I would just like to comment that we're very fortunate to have someone so highly trained
Yeah,
for this position.
Yeah, she does a great job.
Ms. Cruz, she does an excellent job, no doubt about that. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Matters related to human resources.
There's one
No.
last one. There's.
Oh, that's right.
I know.
Yes, we have to consider approving resolution with regards to use of the, is that M 100 precinct scanner as required by Texas Election Code.
Yeah, this is the last item on the elections that Mr. McShann, Dr. Cavazos, the board members. So we are required to have a resolution or other board approval in the use of these scanners prior to election. So we're recommending approval. We've used them before in the past.
I move approval.
A motion by Mrs. Flourier,
I'll second it.
second Mrs. Young. Is there a discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Now we move to matters related to human resources. Approval of revisions to Policy Update 98, Legal and Local, on first reading. Mrs. Vargas.
Thank you, Mr. McShann, board members, Dr. Cavazos. We bring for your review and approval revisions to Policy Update 98, Legal and Local, on first reading. These policies were reviewed in detail at our Policy Audit Committee meeting earlier this evening. And the policy updates to local policy include, on page 107 and 108 of your agenda, Policy BBE Local, Board Members' Authority, and it addresses board members' access to information in alignment with House Bill 628. On page 110 of your agenda, Policy DBA Local, Employment Requirements and Restrictions, Credentials and Records. As required by House Bill 2961, it includes a new provision stating that the district will not use an employee's social security number as an employee identifier. This has long been the practice in our district, and so it's not a change to practice, but will now be explicitly stated in our board policy. On page 114 is Policy DFFA, Reduction in Force Due to Financial Exigency. And on page 119, I'll refer because they're similar changes. We also have DFFB Local, Reduction in Force Due to Program Change. And as a result of House Bill 2012, it requires the district to look at a teacher's consecutive formal appraisals for more than 1 year if they are available. A reduction in force due to financial exigency or due to a program change is an employment decision that would fall within the scope of this requirement. On page 125, we find DGB Local Personnel Management Relations, Employee Complaints and Grievances. And as a result of House Bill 2607, the school district is required to permit an employee representative to participate by telephone conference or in person during a grievance hearing. Again, this is currently our practice. We have always allowed this and would continue to do so, and it will now be explicitly stated in our board policy. On page 133, DH Local Employee Standards of Conduct, it now includes clarification on an employee's requirement to report child abuse or neglect as required by law. This text is already found in our board policy in FFG Legal, and there's a reference that is added at this place. Also, under recommendation from our TASB policy consultants on page 137, you'll find a local change that we are also adding, which adds clarification that employee complaint conferences shall be in compliance with law and board policy. You'll recall earlier this year that we added some verbiage that addressed recording of investigative conferences. And so this is just to clarify that if this complaint was a formal employee grievance complaint, that we would follow the same guidelines required for employee grievances. On page 139, we have DNA Local, Performance Appraisal Evaluation of Teachers. As a result of House Bill 2012, it now includes general requirements of administrators to make more frequent walkthroughs focusing on inexperienced teachers and experienced teachers with identified areas of deficiency. Text addressing the days on which the district prohibits observations is recommended for deletion, since the district is already required to establish an appraisal calendar which should take into account any prohibited days. We do have our PDAS calendar that is published on our staff development website, and should this policy be passed, then next year we will be including our own prohibited days, and this allows for more local control. On page 142, we have EC Local School Day, which is a new policy recommended for inclusion as a result of House Bill 5 and requirements governing the loss of class time to tutoring or test preparation. On page 144, we have EIA Local Academic Achievement Grading Progress Reports to Parents, and a similar change on page 151, EIC Local Academic Achievement Class Ranking. As a result of House Bill 5, it addresses changes in the utilization of end-of-course test results. These test results will no longer be utilized in determining a student's final grade or a student's class rank. On page 154, we have FEA Local Compulsory Attendance, and it now includes language allowing a student excused absences for up to 2 days a year to serve as an early voting or election clerk. And this is in addition to already 2 days allowed for excused absence for a student's junior year and a student's senior year to visit higher education institutions. We also have on page 158, FEC Local Attendance for Credit. Due to House Bill 5, it now applies the 90% attendance requirements to the award of a final grade in addition to the award of credit. Now, award of credit was already a part of board policy, and they just added the verbiage of final grade as well. And finally, we have on page 160, FFB Local Student Welfare Crisis Intervention. Due to Senate Bill 831, it expands the subjects that this policy may address to include mental health promotion and substance abuse prevention and intervention. Ms. Fleury serves as our committee chair, and she may have additional information to share with the board this evening, and we'll be glad to answer any questions at this time.
Thank you very much, Ms. Vargas. Ms. Fleury, any comments regarding?
Well, we certainly went over every one of the policy updates in detail at our policy committee meeting, and I want to thank Ms. Vargas for our very professional packet that we received, even including 3 different colors representing different purposes for the work that is being done. And so I commend you. Thank you so much for your excellent leadership. I would like to comment to my colleagues on the board that several of these changes, as Ms. Vargas referenced them, apply to the changes in the law that took place with the new House bill. And we find ourselves once again as a district having moved proactively in fact anticipation that this would happen, and knowing that it was best for students and for student achievement. The changes that we made and held firm to last year have now been made by the state legislature. So I'm pleased to report that we are not only in compliance, but that we led the state in making those decisions, which I believe we all understand are the best decisions for students.
And thank you, Ms. Laurier. And is that a motion?
Yes, sir. I move approval on first reading.
Okay, we have a motion for approval on first reading by Mrs. Laurier and a second by
Second.
Mr. De Leon. Is there a discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
The motion is approved.
Thank you.
We move now to matters related to district operations. Approval of final construction payment to Insight Networking for the elementary school classroom technology upgrades. Mr. Oscar Tapia.
Thank you, Mr. McShan, Board President, members of the board, Dr. Cavazos. This payment was discussed in our Facilities Committee meeting. As per local's policy CV, it requires that the board approve all final payments for all construction projects. So we're bringing this forth. This is Insight Networking that did our technology infrastructure upgrades at our elementary schools, asking for final payment in the amount of $40,937.45. Administration recommends approval.
Thank you, Mr. Tapia.
I move approval.
We have a motion by Mr. Powers
I'll second it.
and a second by Mrs. Young. Discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Approval of final construction payment to Insight Networking for the secondary school classroom technology upgrades. Mr. Tapia.
Yes, President McShan, members of the board, Dr. Cavazos. This is the same contractor Insight Networking, but this is for the secondary schools. Same thing, requesting final payment in the amount of $19,166.90. Administration recommends approval.
I move approval.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Powers and second by Mr. De Leon. Is there discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Approval of contingency change order for the School of Health Professions. Mr. Tapia.
President McShan, members of the board, Dr. Cavazos. This item was discussed at the Facilities Committee meeting in length, and it discussed the changes to the fire line loop system and some other underground plumbing work in the building. Total amount of $140,859.30 will come out of the contingency fund, so it's not a change order to the contract. We have monies in the project to cover these changes. Administration recommends approval.
I move approval as recommended.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Laurier, second by Mr. Powers. Is there discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Now let's move to the Facilities Committee report. Mr. Tapia.
Yes, thank you, President McShan, members of the board, Dr. Cavazos. February 4th, we had the Facilities Committee meeting. Items on the agenda, we discussed a rebate check that we received from a half an association through AEP's Commercial Standard Offer Program in the amount of $32,600. We also reported the repairs at Treasure Hills on the structural failure that we had. The project's been finished, and the principal's getting ready to relocate to those classrooms. We've gotten city approval. We had an update on the School of Health Professions, and we talked about the change order that we just approved. Also the bond program, the update on the Aquatic Center, the 9th grade academy, which is pretty much 99% complete. We've accepted the second phase, so they'll start moving in this coming week. We discussed the classroom wing additions at Jefferson, some roofing AC projects, the kitchen renovation at Cardinal campus. We discussed all the change orders and these final pay applications that we presented today. And Mr. Julio Cavazos gave us our financial report on the construction funds.
Thank you so much, Mr. Tapia, for the facilities report. Any comments from board members regarding facilities report? It's an excellent job. We certainly appreciate your good work. It is 8:35. Adjourned to close our executive session pursuant to Texas Government Code Sections 551.071, 551.072, 551.074, and 551.082, the Opens Meeting Act for the following purposes. Discussion regarding bids received in the November 5th, 2013 tax resale on properties struck off to Cameron County for itself and other taxing jurisdictions. Discussion regarding employment, duties, assignment, and reorganization of administrators and central administration office personnel. Discussion of employment of assistant principal at Stewart Elementary School. Discussion, employment of assistant director of transportation. Discussion, employment of teachers and other professional staff. We are now in the executive session. It is 9:17. The board reconvened into open session for action on matters discussed in executive session. Consideration and possible action on bids received at the November 5th, 2013 tax resale of property struck off the Cameron County for itself and other taxing jurisdictions.
Mr. President, I move that we accept all of the bids with the exception of number 7. The motion is also that we reject that number 7 bid and accept all the others.
I second the
A
motion.
motion, Mr. Powers, and second by Mrs. Fleury. Is there discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Discussion and possible action regarding employment and duties, administration and central administration office personnel.
I move to approve the additional employment position and additional duties of administrators and central office personnel as discussed in executive session.
Second.
Motion by Mr. DeLeon and second by Mr. Powers. Is there discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consider employment of assistant principal at Stewart Elementary School.
I move that we accept the recommendation of staff.
Second.
Have a motion by Mr. Powers, second by Mr. DeLeon. Is there discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Consider employment of assistant director of transportation.
I move approval as recommended by staff.
Second.
Have a motion by Mrs. Fleury, second by Mr. Powers. Is there discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Consider employment of teachers and other professional staff.
I move approval as recommended by staff.
Second.
Have a motion by Mrs. Young, second by Mrs. Fleury. Is there discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. And this regular meeting is adjourned.